$1 million a year ain't shit. A lot of people believe that if you're doing $1 million a year in sales, that you have all this money. Think about it. Most businesses operate on a 10% profit margin, and that's a good business. If you're making $1 million a year in sales, it's a good chance that you can probably pull 100 grand out of that business. But as you scale and you make that jump to 8 figures, those profits shrink. So you make less when you start to make more. Let me explain what I mean. Some businesses have different profit margins. I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak for ourselves. When Scorch Marker is really firing on all cylinders, it's a 20% net profit on the entire business. So for every dollar that we make, 20 cents goes to profit. And that's where my pay comes from. So if we're doing $1 million a year, there's only $200,000 worth of profit there. It's not that much money. In order to make and take home $1 million a year, we have to be selling over $10 million a year worth of product. It's a lot. That's a completely different business than $1 million a year business. Yet when your business is a 7-figure business and you're doing $1 million a year, you oftentimes feel richer, you can take home more money, and you have less problems and headache. Why is that? Why? I'm a firm believer that you can get to $1 million a year with one product, one channel, and one audience. And you can do that as an owner-operator, as a single individual who is managing the business, running the ads, building the listings, taking the photos, fulfilling the product, getting things made, talking to suppliers, etc. One person can theoretically get that job done, which means you don't have a lot of employee overhead. You don't have a lot of expenses that you're paying out to agencies and people on a monthly basis. Your overhead is low. Businesses at that size can afford to pull $1, $2, maybe even sometimes $300,000 a year out of their business. And that's why some of the product sellers you see that are doing around $1 million a year or so can live that lifestyle. They can live the lifestyle of having $200,000 a year in income. But as you start to grow, it's no longer a solopreneur game. You have to employ people. One person can only do so much. Well, I've never seen one person do more than $3 million a year selling a product. It is hard. At a certain point, you need people. You need someone to help you with the Amazon listings and the advertisement and the media buy and the copywriting and the email flows and the supply chain management and the customer service and all of the things. And that adds to your overhead. That adds to your monthly expenses. And slowly over time, or quickly, those expenses increase and you're able to pull less out of the business because you're giving it to others to do the work for you. They're growing this machine. So the revenue is increasing slower than the expenses are increasing. Therefore, it puts pressure on your margin, your net profit. And that's why when businesses make the jump from 1 to 10 million a year in sales, you feel like you're eating top ramen. And I'm quoting Sean Frank from the Operators podcast because he really broke this down eloquently. And I can tell you for a fact, it feels exactly like he described. I felt like I had way more money when we were doing a little over $1 million a year. But now that we're doing 2, 3 million, I feel like I have less money and it's harder and there's more expenses and everything's tighter. And that's because it is. It is. In order to get to 8 figures, we have to get results through others, and I need to become a leader capable of developing and managing top talent. Top talent is expensive, and if you can't afford top talent, you have to develop talent that has character traits but lacks the skills, and that is also time-consuming and expensive. But I know that if we are able to bridge this gap between 1 million and 10 million, that the profit margin at 8 figures will be much healthier. In addition, the business is going to be completely different and we'll be able to operate without my day-to-day involvement, ideally. And the most important part of that is that I will become a different person, a person capable of managing an 8-figure brand, which is not easy to do. There are skills, character traits, and limiting beliefs that need to be broken in order to become that person. And you can get there, it's just a matter of how quickly can you learn, adapt, and change. And that's what I'm focused on right now, becoming the person capable of. And I'm not there yet, otherwise I would have that business. But I can start to see that path, and I'm consciously developing myself into that person. We're tracking specific metrics and working with the right people and applying the focus and energy to the levers that can help us get there. But when it really comes down to it, it's a game of people, yourself and others. How can I become better? How can I develop myself even faster? How can I become that person? And how can I help them become that person? So then you start getting into leadership and management. So while the whole time you feel like you're broke and you're eating top ramen every day and you can't afford to pay the bills, the business is growing and then you are suffering, learning new things, going through discomfort. Do you get why I formed a membership now? I'm tired of being alone. This stuff is hard. It's not for the faint of heart or those that have weak stomachs. But there is a payoff. And that payoff is that you're building enterprise value. You're building a business that cash flows. You're building an asset. You're developing something that can generate cash flow on its own. which is very different from a service-based business. When you stop providing that service, the cash doesn't come in. Yet in e-commerce, as long as you have your offer, as long as it can be presented to customers, you can generate revenue. You can make sales while you're sleeping. It's very difficult to do that with a service-based business because of the fulfillment aspect. Now, both businesses have their challenges, but I like e-commerce because it's infinitely scalable. The biggest businesses in the world sell products, and it's because of that. So when someone says, we're doing $1 million a year, including myself, it's not that much money. It's not that much money in profit. You could very easily make more as a high-paid employee. You could make $250,000 a year working for Facebook or Google, working your way up the corporate ladder. You can make $1 million a year and take home just being a badass CFO or an accountant that just crushes it for people. So then why even? But you can't get to 8 figures and then 9 figures until you first learn how to go from 6 figures to 7 figures. That step comes first. You need to learn how to create enough value as an individual operator so that you can then bring people in to help you develop it even further. Like I said, it's not an easy game, but if you're able to pull it off, you will have something that is much more valuable than all of the businesses out there. Brands that sell products are so special. They are really special. I think it's important to understand the distinction. That's not all that it's cracked up to be. It's not an easy thing to do. But if you're willing and you have the stomach for it, you can build something truly great that can feed you and your family for generations. And that's what I'm after.